Welcome to Rise Above, the podcast where we turn pain into purpose and struggle into strength. I'm Jacqueline, your host. Today's episode is going to be talking about PTSD and depression and my ongoing journey with both of them. So, to get this started, we're going to talk about my first major loss. I'm not going to go into details, but how that affected me and my person and how that triggered the depression. So, my major loss, it humbled me in ways that it's difficult for me to express. It shaped me and it allowed me to see the world in a different perspective. So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to catch up on the episodes thus far, I do talk about it in episode 2. The title of the episode is The Day That Changed My Life. So the first major loss that I had was when I witnessed the murder of my fiance. That when that happened, I started to see the world in a different light, in the sense that what happened on TV could happen to anyone. Because I witnessed it, it was so close, it changed me forever. I no longer trusted the world that I so much trusted for so many years. I didn't see it the same. It made everything possible. It made me more aware that I don't know who is capable of what or who are they capable of doing it to. And I hope that makes sense. When I say it humbled me, it's because of that. Because I was very naive to trusting just simply walking from here to the corner and not thinking about what can possibly happen. Or even if it was something so simple of getting to a little argument with someone because they cut me off, and not fully be aware that they would, I didn't know if they would have a knife. I didn't know if they would have any weapons to kind of just act on their anger. And that incident of my first loss in 2020 and 2011 really changed that perspective for me. It humbled me, like I said, because I became more aware that what happens in the news, it doesn't only just happen to those people. Those people are true people. Those people are not people that are targeted or didn't live freely. It's just that's the card that life dealt them, and they had to live through that moment. So for me, after that, I could no longer walk the streets of New York and not look over my shoulder. I can no longer have an argument with someone off of the most minute reason and not think of, I don't know what this person is capable of. So let me tone it down a little bit. But I was also struggling with projecting my emotions on people around me because I was angry. I was very angry at what I experienced, but at the same time, I didn't trust my environment if I wasn't within people that I knew. So something as simple as going to the train station and taking the train was a mission for me, because if it was early in the morning or late at night, I felt like that made me even more vulnerable than anything to be attacked or to think that the person that did this was going to come after me. I felt numb. I had hypervigilance. I was in autopilot. So while I knew that I had emotions to process and to kind of grow from, I couldn't do it in that moment. And again, I want to emphasize that this will look differently amongst everyone. And I immediately didn't know that what I was experiencing was post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't know that I was going to start experiencing depression after that. So it was just, there was no switch in my brain that said, oh, you experienced this is PTSD. I didn't know what PTSD was. I had heard of it, of veterans that experienced it because they went to war, but I didn't know what it was. And it's honestly not something that you are fully aware of when you are affected by it or you develop that, right? So trusting, I couldn't trust anyone that I didn't know. I couldn't. It was a very tough moment, because the world that I had lived and trusted so much just something so simple of going to the club and having some drinks and leaving at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't think about that there was danger in my surroundings, unknown danger, right? Danger that is not visibly seen, because you don't know that there are other people out there that they're not in their right mental state, and you don't know what they're capable of. You don't know what their necessity is, and how far they will go to make sure that they fulfill the need of whatever it is that they need, right? I wasn't aware of that. Just like, I knew there was drugs and stuff in the streets and stuff like that, but to me it was a stereotype of, there was a certain look for people that sold it, did it. But being in that relationship in general exposed me to the aspects of, like, that teacher does that. Experiencing what I experienced, that major loss, exposed me to people really do that. Oh, okay, like, people genuinely are upset and plot to hurt other people. I don't say that, I can't sit here and say that they feed off of it. I don't know. I'm not in their brain, but I can say that they cannot be mentally sane if that's something that they are capable of doing. And in my opinion, you have to have a cold heart to even be able to do that and cause physical harm to anyone and unaliving them. And while I was still a very young mom, I had to navigate my feelings. And the most difficult thing that you as a parent can do is be a parent while you're navigating what the hell is going on with you mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically, right? Because for me, the emotion piece of it drove me to eat. And it was difficult. It was very difficult because I had someone that was looking up to me, that relied on me. So I couldn't focus on or try to figure out what I had going on, which is where the autopilot came in, which is where the functioning depression came in. And at the end of the day, I didn't just lose a partner. I lost the custom, la costumbre of what my life was within that last 7 years, within seconds. Because although for me, in the moment that everything happened, it felt like it was an eternity. But when we were in court and we're talking about from the start to the end of what happened, it was literally seconds. So the second loss, so keep in mind, first loss, second loss was about 9 years apart, 2011 and 2020. So that first loss, I was on autopilot. I didn't really know what I was going through. I didn't know that I was experiencing depression. I didn't know I had PTSD. I didn't know what was going on. I just know that I wasn't the same person that I was before all of it happened. And because I was in autopilot, it's like putting a Band-Aid on the wound and watching it heal from the outside in versus having to heal from the inside out. Because that's really what it is. When you experience some kind of loss, you have to heal from the inside out to be able to condition yourself to being a different kind of person, because you're not going to be the same. You can have some characteristics that will resurface, but you're not going to be the same. When you start to heal, it doesn't erase what you experienced. It doesn't erase what you saw. It doesn't erase the journey that you went through and the hard times. You're still there. So the person that you were before that, you're not going to be that same person ever again. You will heal from it. You will learn how to live life with those scars and those wounds, but you won't be that same person. So for me, because I really didn't do the healing process in those 9 years, and I had that second loss, that loss opened up a lot of the feelings that I had that I brushed under the rug from the first loss. So it was double grieving process for me. And at this point, I had to deal with it because it was so overwhelming that when I returned from the Dominican Republic, if you guys haven't seen that episode, that's the episode where I talk about losing my husband in a car accident in the Dominican Republic in 2020. So when I returned from the Dominican Republic, that's when the healing process starts. A lot of people say, oh no, she handled the funeral well, she handled this. But honestly, your healing process starts the moment that all of that goes away and everyone goes to their house and everyone starts to live their life normal, and just time goes by, life goes on, because life doesn't stop going by, time doesn't stop. Even though that you feel for the moment of that event that happened that time does stop, it doesn't literally stop. So your healing process and you getting used to not having that person there happens when you return home, when you have to live the rest of your life without receiving those phone calls, waiting for phone calls, waiting for a text message, waiting for, in the first case, waiting for them to come and go home together, or having to do those trips to the Dominican Republic so I can spend time with him, having those phone conversations with him and my stepson, and singing happy birthday to my daughter with all of them on the phone. So all of that changed overnight. So that is when the healing process started. And with this one, I would say that it hit me double because I wouldn't shower. I didn't want to shower. Those that know me know that I am very clean and I'm very organized. I didn't want to clean my house. I would wake up crying in the middle of the night because of what happened. And I think about that, and that was a really tough time because I was really outside of the person that I was. And I don't get emotional because I had to go through that. I get emotional because I've grown so much from that person. It's taken time, and that's okay. Healing and recovery is not a race. It's not about who can get there first. It's about when you're ready, because it's a process. It's different layers, and you got to peel back those layers and make sure that you're dealing with all of them, and have the realization that, certain aspects of what you're experiencing may go away. Like, you may be not experience depression, but to this day I still have PTSD because my norm is no longer the norm, right? So I've been exposed to the possibilities of what can happen on the other side of trusting the world and trusting your surroundings. So that's not going to change. Is it as bad as it was? Absolutely not. It's not. And when I say it doesn't change, is if I see anything weird that gives me a bad feeling, I'm already like, I'm retracting 70,001 steps. I'm not, no, I'm not dealing with it. If someone is too close behind me, I'm just like, okay, you need not to be there. Absolutely not. So one of the things that I also had to battle with was, because this happened to me twice, is what is wrong with me? Because people that are close to me are dying. Partners that I've been with are dying. For my first loss, that relationship was so toxic, where towards the end of the relationship, we were engaged, and I remember I wanted to marry him. I did. But I was so scared to marry him because he was very controlling. And I thought that if I married him and I changed my last name to his, that was going to be a different layer of controlling. And a part of me wanted out of that, and I didn't know how to get out. And I remember I would pray. I'm like, God, if it's not meant for me, please give me the strength to walk away. So when that happened, I thought that I prayed what happened into light. So I had to deal with that silently. This is the first time that I've said it out loud. Then when I went into autopilot, it was still there. I would close my eyes and I would see the event of what happened. To this day, there's moments that I close my eyes and I relive the event with my husband. I didn't experience what happened to him, but I close my eyes and I see the moment that I was told he passed. And then I see the funeral home, and I see all of that. So that's all part of PTSD. When you close your eyes and you can see what you've been through and what you experienced, that's PTSD. And, feeling cursed, feeling like you caused the pain, that's PTSD. So I had to work on convincing myself that there was nothing wrong with me physically, that as unfortunate as it is, this was the card that life dealt for me. And I do not desire that for no one. Absolutely not. I was exhausted emotionally, but on the surface, to everyone, I was the strong one. And not being able to allow myself to be fragile really had a lot to do with people always seeing me as the one that got it together. I was a single mom. I did it on my own. I always pulled things together, and I was strong. So it wasn't easy for me to show my vulnerable side, to be fragile around people, because I felt like that they would see me as weak. But in all reality, that happens to everyone. What I would say when it comes to that is, allow those that you see as strong to be fragile. It is okay. It's not a sign of weakness. It's allowing them to deal with those emotions, because they have to deal with it. I had to deal with it. So behind closed doors, when it came to the second loss, the one person that truly saw me at my worst was my daughter. Because by then she was older and I didn't have any more in me to hide what I was feeling. I just couldn't. At this point, I was dealing with the emotions of two losses because I didn't deal with it the first time. Ooh. And all while this is happening, like, your mind is a very powerful thing. So while dealing with this, I'm reliving the moments of which are flashbacks. I think for me though, if a flashback is normally when you relive the moment and you're in it, like you feel like it's happening at that moment. So a flashback for me, the ones that I was experiencing, was just in my mind, seeing everything all over again. I knew that I was in the present, and that I survived what I had been through, but it was vivid in my brain. So birthdays feel heavier, holidays feel heavier, things are not the same, and you consistently replaying the last time you saw them. Like, I can tell you how the day went the day before that my fiance passed away, and I could recite to you how the conversation went with my husband the day before he passed away. Those moments stay vivid, and then you replay the whole entire relationship from start to end. And then you see it as like, God, why? Until you get to the point where that timeline that you see becomes a treasure that will be forever in your heart, and you could appreciate it because you were blessed to be part of that person's life and experience that life with them, whether it's good or bad. And for the first one, it was toxic. So for me, it was looking at when we first started all the way to the end, and how much he had changed as a person, and appreciating that he put so much into me to be able to change the person that he was when we first met, even though it was too late for him at the time. Wow, that was a lot. So what are some things that I did to kind of start my healing process? So I started my healing process probably, I would say, in 2021 was when I really found a therapist that was working for me, and that she wouldn't come into my skin. Yes, I had a therapist that every session they would be like, oh my God, do you do Botox? And I'm like, no. Changed her right away. So I did therapy. I had the book from Joel Osteen, Wake Up to Hope. I would read that every single morning before I woke up, because it was a devotional. I can't read it before I woke up because I would be sleeping. You know what I mean? I did that. And then, like, a couple of my family members would send me books that I would read, like The Unexpected, How to Survive the Holidays Without Your Loved One at the first go. Um, and it was in 2021 where I just felt like my daughter was in a good place for her age. She could hold her own. And I really needed to be on my own and focus on, because one of my biggest fears was dealing with all that I needed to deal with: depression, PTSD, um, everything that I had going on, just not loving myself, not feeling confident, and just chugging along life because I was functionally depressive. I didn't want to place all of that energy on her. So I decided to move to Miami in 2022. I actually, gave in my apartment in 2021. My daughter had her apartment. And that's when we separated for the first time in 19 years. And coming here to Miami was what sparked the actual healing process, even though that I was seeing a therapist, uh, but actually healing, because I was living by myself for the first time since forever, because I never lived by myself. I got my first apartment when I had my daughter, so it was always my daughter and I. Um, that right there was a tough time, because now I had all these emotions that I never dealt with, that I'm now dealing with, and I'm by myself. So emotional eating started. And I really kept to myself. I think that my family members here saw more than what I thought that they would see, because I would really keep to myself as much as I would try to, like, put myself out there. So I had to survive those darkest moments by myself and live those darkest moments and be completely honest with myself and say, like, my life is out of my control, in the sense of I'm overeating. At this point, I'm 283 pounds. My knees hurt. I'm experiencing other aches and pains, sleeping with a sleep apnea mask, because I stopped breathing in the middle of the night several times within seconds. I'm on the verge of having high blood pressure. I am pre-diabetic, and I was only 42 years old. Um, and that is when life switched for me, and I decided to have the bariatric surgery, where we would talk about another episode. But for me, that was the pivotal point, or the catalyst for me into being the person that I am today. So PTSD is not a sign of weakness, and I had to learn that, because that was something that I was just like, these people are going to think I'm weak, because I could not control what I was feeling, what I was coming, what would come up. It's a sign that you survived something, and it is the result of the trauma that you experienced because you survived it. So it's almost like looking at it, you survived something that was meant to destroy you. So that's the result of it, but you should be proud that you were able to survive something that was supposed to destroy you. So again, thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys tuning in every single episode. What parts of my story resonated with you? Drop comments below on the description. And if you lived through anything or similar, and if you're comfortable speaking about what helped you or what helps you get through your day in and your day out, share that below. If you're not comfortable sharing that below, that's perfectly fine. You can reach out to me via email, and I'd be more than glad to read your story and how you're working through to get through that. So, if you want it, like I said, if you want to email me privately, or you want to comment down below this video, you can do that as well. Remember, this podcast is to show that there's always hope, and that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter what you go through, you can always rise above it. It may not happen when you want it to happen, but it can happen, and it will happen. You just have to believe in yourself that you can do it, and you have to be ready to do it. No one is going to tell you you need to do this. You have to be ready and figure out what's the best coping mechanism, what's the best healing aspects that you need for you. So thank you again for holding space for me. I appreciate that you all take time to listen to the podcast. Always know that healing is not linear. Recovery is not a race. You go at your pace, and it's not a pretty process. You have to be able to understand that in that healing process, you are going to feel, you're going to cry, you're going to go through the hardcore. It's the kind of like when you're going through detoxification of alcoholism or drugs, right? You're going through a withdrawal. So when you're in the healing process, there's going to be a lot of crying. There's going to be a lot of things that you need to let go of. There's going to be things that you're going to have to let go of without having answers to, which is probably the hardest thing that you would have to do. One of the reasons I created this podcast is because let's rise together, let's heal together, let's move forward from this, right? If I can even touch one person and inspire one person or give them some hope that no matter what they're going through, they can go through it and they can rise above it, I've done my job. So again, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, if this episode resonates or someone that maybe it can help, like, follow, share, subscribe. I appreciate all the support that you all give. If you have anything that you want to share and you don't feel comfortable sharing with me on the comments below, send me an email. I will read the email. Send me the email and we can have a conversation via email. Thank you all again for watching. Until the next episode.